Imagine you're a Formula One driver, your front wing breaks mid-race and you still decide to continue. Why would you do that? At the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc made an unexpected decision that left everyone speechless. Today, we're going to analyze why he continued with the damaged wing and how this move affected his race. Narrator: if you want to understand the strategic intricacies of this incredible decision and how it nearly changed the course of his season, stay until the end. The action of the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix began with great intensity, and it was in the opening laps that Charles Leclerc experienced a pivotal moment that would completely change the course of his career. While fighting for positions on the Shanghai circuit, the Ferrari driver found himself in an unexpected situation that would mark a turning point in his weekend. In the opening laps of the Grand Prix, Leclerc faced a tight racing scene, with several drivers close behind him, including his teammate Lewis Hamilton. The tension was palpable, and in the sequence of turns 1 to 3 of the circuit, a small but significant loss of control at turn 2 caused Leclerc's car to slide. At that moment, his teammate Hamilton, who was also fighting for position, attempted to regain the ideal line. As a result, both Ferraris touched slightly, causing the end plate of Leclerc's left front wing to completely detach. This incident was quickly dismissed as a simple racing spear by both Leclerc and Hamilton, making it clear that there was no malicious intent on the part of either driver. Although the contact was not severe in terms of structural damage to the cars, the detachment of the end plate did not go unnoticed by Ferrari's engineers. In aerodynamic terms, the loss of this component meant a drastic reduction in downforce on Leclerc's car. The front wing end plate is crucial for the car's stability on track, as it helps manage airflow over the car, improving traction and cornering efficiency. On a circuit like Shanghai, where fast sections require a high level of stability and control, losing such an essential component would severely compromise Leclerc's performance. According to Ferrari engineers, the loss of this end plate meant a decrease of between 20 and 30 points of downforce. This decrease not only affected the car's top speed but also its cornering behavior, especially in high-speed corners where downforce is critical to keeping the car glued to the road. Under normal conditions, damage of this magnitude would have led almost any team to opt for an immediate pit stop to replace the damaged wing and prevent the car from losing further performance during the race. However, despite the severity of the damage, Leclerc wasn't initially overly concerned. Immediately after the incident, the Monégasque driver stated that he didn't blame Hamilton, explaining that it was simply a coincidence in the gap between the two cars. "It's not Lewis's fault at all," said Leclerc, maturely assuming that it was a racing fluke and an unfortunate contact while the two were competing for the same position at the start of the race. The damage to Leclerc's wing was severe enough that most drivers in his situation would opt to return to the pits for repairs, but this wasn't Ferrari's strategy. The team quickly assessed the situation and began discussing available options, taking into account the complexities of the race. Although the damage was considerable, Ferrari made the decision to keep Leclerc on track, aware that the conditions of the Shanghai circuit and the nature of the race could offer an opportunity to minimize losses. The initial incident, though seemingly minor in terms of contact, was the first indication that the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix would unfold in unusual fashion for Ferrari and Leclerc. Despite the obvious problems with the car, the Ferrari driver would waste no time in the pits and instead push ahead with a strategy that would defy Formula One conventions. After the incident in the opening laps, Leclerc's situation at the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix was anything but favorable. With a damaged front wing, his Ferrari's performance expectations were affected, and logic in any other circumstance would have dictated an immediate pit stop to repair the damage. However, Ferrari, led by team principal Frédéric Vasseur, decided to take a less conventional route. The decision not to stop to repair the wing was one of the most discussed of the weekend. While the loss of downforce directly affected the car's handling, especially in fast corners, Ferrari considered other factors before opting for the repair. One of the main considerations was the time that would have been lost in the pits to change the front wing. Ferrari estimated that a pit stop to replace the wing would have cost an additional 8 to 10 seconds, which would have put Leclerc in an even more vulnerable position upon returning to the track. On a circuit like Shanghai, where overtaking is notoriously difficult, losing that amount of time would have meant losing several positions, especially to drivers like Max Verstappen, who was already fighting for the lead. For Ferrari, this loss of time could have been far more damaging than continuing with the damaged wing, leading them to conclude that it was best to keep Leclerc on track and avoid a pit stop that didn't guarantee immediate improvement. Furthermore, Ferrari calculated that a pit stop would not only result in a loss of time but would also have altered the team's overall strategy. The race's leading drivers, like Verstappen and the McLaren drivers, had opted for a one-stop strategy, meaning any pit stoppages had to be carefully planned to avoid losing key grid positions. The Italian team feared that by pitting, Leclerc would not only lose time but also miss the opportunity to maximize his track position, a key factor on a circuit where progress is limited and grid positions are difficult to recover. Leclerc, for his part, supported Ferrari's decision. Although the car was clearly affected by the damage, his intuition and track experience allowed him to manage the damaged wing effectively, and he acknowledged that, although the situation wasn't ideal, continuing in the race was his best option. Speaking after the race, the Monegasque driver explained that his main concern was the possibility of losing even more positions if he pitted. "We didn't want to take those 8 seconds on the pit stop because then I would need to overtake cars," Leclerc commented, referring to how risky it would have been to try to make up ground after a wing change. The decision was also influenced by Ferrari's detailed analysis of the car's behavior during the opening laps. Despite the loss of downforce, Ferrari observed that Leclerc could maintain a relatively competitive pace, even if he wasn't on par with the leaders. Therefore, the team decided to remain calm and not risk a pit stop that didn't guarantee immediate results. Instead, Ferrari relied on Leclerc's ability to manage resources and maintain a position where he could benefit from the evolution of the race, considering that tire wear and rival strategies would play a crucial role later on. This strategic decision not to pit also involved more sophisticated tire management. Leclerc and his team knew the tires would wear more quickly due to the loss of downforce, so he had to adjust his driving style to preserve the tires and avoid excessive wear. Leclerc's ability to adapt to this new reality of the car was key to Ferrari's decision not to risk an unnecessary pit stop. In short, Ferrari's choice not to pit was a strategic move based on the competitive context of the race. Although it wasn't an easy decision, the team carefully evaluated the consequences of repair versus continuing, opting for the latter, confident that Leclerc could maximize his result with the damaged wing. This approach demonstrates how decisions in Formula One often go beyond immediate logic, incorporating a deep analysis of the circuit circumstances, race conditions, and long-term opportunities. Despite Ferrari's strategic decision to keep Leclerc on track with the damaged wing, the impact on the car's performance was significant. The loss of the front wing's left end plate not only reduces downforce but also alters the car's overall handling, especially in key sections of the Shanghai circuit. The layout's characteristics, which include long straights and fast corners, required precise aerodynamic stability, which became a significant challenge for Leclerc as the race progressed. The damage primarily affected Leclerc's ability to maintain a good level of grip in fast corners, where the wing plays a crucial role in managing airflow over the car. The loss of that downforce made the car more unstable, and in some sections of the circuit, especially high-speed corners, Leclerc's Ferrari became more difficult to control. This prevented him from achieving the expected race pace in those sections, leaving him vulnerable to other drivers with cars without aerodynamic damage. In particular, Turn 12 of the Shanghai circuit became a critical point for Leclerc. This corner, taken at high speed, demanded a level of aerodynamic stability that Leclerc's Ferrari no longer had. Without the left end plate, the car suffered a loss of traction, which affected its corner exit speed and, consequently, its acceleration onto the long straight afterward. This aerodynamic failure left Leclerc at a disadvantage, as he was more susceptible to attacks from cars that had better grip in that section of the circuit. The car's performance was also affected by increased tire degradation. The loss of downforce contributed to uneven tire wear, which was especially evident in the closing laps of the race. Leclerc had to manage this wear precisely, as the reduced load on the wheels caused greater wheel displacement, which in turn affected the consistency of his performance. The tires wore down more quickly than expected, forcing him to adopt more conservative driving to avoid further losing pace. However, despite these obvious issues, Leclerc demonstrated an impressive ability to maintain his competitive pace. Although the car no longer had the same agility as before, his ability to manage tire degradation and adapt his driving style allowed him to maintain a decent position in the race. This was not only a testament to the driver's skill, but also to the work of Ferrari's engineers, who had set Leclerc's car to certain parameters that gave him an advantage in certain conditions, despite the damage. In fact, despite the limitations imposed by the damaged wing, Leclerc managed to show superior pace to his teammate, Lewis Hamilton, who was also struggling with difficulties in his car. For several laps, Leclerc managed to stay ahead of Hamilton, resulting in a team order for Hamilton to cede the position to his teammate on lap 21. This demonstrated Leclerc's ability to adapt his driving to the circumstances and exploit the small advantages his car offered him. The difference in performance between the two Ferrari drivers can largely be explained by the setup adjustments made to Leclerc's car on Saturday afternoon, just before the race. While Hamilton failed to find the optimal balance on his car after the adjustments, Leclerc, for his part, made the most of the modifications, allowing him to overcome the difficulties inherent in the damage to his wing and remain competitive. Despite the lack of performance in some areas of the circuit, Leclerc demonstrated that even in adverse conditions he could manage a compromised car and maintain a pace that positioned him favorably in the fight for the top positions. However, towards the end of the race, the lack of downforce and premature tire wear began to take their toll. As Leclerc's tires wore down, he lost fourth place to Max Verstappen, who, with fresher tires and an undamaged car, was able to overtake him with relative ease. The impact on Leclerc's performance with the damaged wing wasn't just a matter of speed loss, but also of adapting to and managing the car in difficult circumstances. While the loss of positions at the end of the race was a significant blow, the driver's ability to remain competitive and finish in a respectable fifth place despite it all was a testament to his ability to handle extreme situations. As the season progressed, this type of experience could prove invaluable for Leclerc, who proved once again that even with limited resources, he remains a driver capable of maximizing his car's performance in tricky situations. The 2025 Chinese Grand Prix made it clear that, despite the challenges, Charles Leclerc and Ferrari demonstrated they have the potential to be competitive in the fight for the top spots. Although the race was marked by the difficulty of managing a damaged car and the issues stemming from the loss of downforce, the Italian team managed to maintain a strong pace and finish the race just 20 seconds behind the dominant McLarens. This result, although far from the podium, underscores the strengths of the Ferrari when in optimal condition. Despite the adversities, Leclerc showed a great ability to adapt and maximize the performance of his car. His ability to defend his position, overtake his teammate Hamilton, and remain competitive in such a complicated scenario speaks to his talent and ability to handle extreme situations. However, the what-if question lingers. Had his car been intact, the result could have been radically different. Ferrari and Leclerc made it clear that their pace is strong enough to challenge the leaders, but now they must focus on maintaining that level of performance without the setbacks that have marked their season so far. Although fifth place is not the result Leclerc had hoped for, the lesson is clear. Ferrari has the speed and competitiveness to fight for the podium, but they still need to overcome significant obstacles, such as car damage and proper tire management, to turn that potential into consistent victories. Leclerc's post-race frustration is not only a sign of what could have been, but also a reminder of the opportunities Ferrari must seize to improve further. With this analysis, it's clear that the team has the tools to be a real threat this season, but they must refine their strategy, car reliability, and ability to avoid unexpected damage in future races. In this sense, the work Ferrari does in the coming weeks could be crucial in deciding whether they can compete with teams like McLaren and Red Bull in the championship fight. The 2025 Formula One season is far from over, and with each race, Ferrari will have more opportunities to show they are ready to return to the top of the grid. The battle for podium finishes and wins is still very much alive, and with Leclerc at the wheel, the future remains bright for the Maranello team. However, the key will be learning from mistakes and ensuring that, in future races, their performance is as strong as the potential they have already demonstrated.